So what's going on, guys? DIY Dan here again, and this is another episode of Backroads Arizona. In this video, I'm going to be adding an electric power steering to one of my sand cars. The reason for this is this car was a two-handed steer operation. So after a decent day of riding at the dunes, you would come back to camp just kind of beat up, and I wanted to eliminate some of that. Now this power steering unit I actually got with the other sand car that I purchased and haven't gotten built. But since I wasn't going to have that car ready for the dunes this year, I've decided to take that power steering unit, put it on my car that I'm using this year, and that way I can test the durability and reliability of this unit and make sure it is the unit that I want to put on my car that I'm going to be using for the foreseeable future. Now the unit that I ended up getting with that other car is out of a 2014 Kia Soul, and the cool thing about this unit is the only thing that you have to run electronically is a main power, a main ground, and a key on exciter. The other cool thing about it is it's kind of an all-in-one unit because the module, all the electronics is all mounted to the electric power steering unit itself. So since this was a pretty big project and there was a lot of information I had to get in this video, it is pretty long. So here is a chapter index of what goes on and at what time it takes place. So if you don't need to watch the whole thing, you can bypass what you don't need to see so I don't waste your time. And let's get to it. After removing the manual steering linkage, I played with the electric power steering unit to see where I wanted to put it. There was a couple things I considered when trying to figure out the placement. One was I wanted to leave the powder coating in good shape, so I didn't want to have to weld to anything that was there. The other thing is I wanted to be able to put the manual steering rod back in place in case I had a problem with this electric power steering unit, so I didn't want to mess with anything that I couldn't remove and put that manual rod back in place. I had also considered removing the telescoping tilt part of that electric power steering. However, I ended up leaving it on because it gave me a little bit more adjustability with that unit and made it easier to end up mounting it. Now, one thing before we get started on this project, guys, is make sure you either remove your fuel tank or take a bunch of wet towels and put it over the top of it. Make sure you have no residual fuel leaks or oil leaks anywhere near where you're going to be welding or grinding because those could possibly catch fire. And also, it's always a good idea to disconnect the negative on the battery, especially if there's any type of computer in your car. I did end up having to remove the plastic handle off of the release handle for that tilt telescoping part of this unit. And I just took a grinder because it was molded onto the metal, cut the plastic a little bit, and then broke it off with a hammer. The other thing I had to do was resituate some of the U-joints that I already had from that other car. And what I like to use to remove these U-joints and put them back together is just a pair of sockets and a vise. So right here you can see I've got a smaller socket pushing on the end cap, and then I've got a bigger socket that the other end cap will push into. Then just squeeze the sockets with the vise a little bit, and if it's not coming loose, tap it with a rubber mallet to break it free. Then I just used a pair of channel locks to twist it the rest of the way out. Once getting the first end cap off, you might have to tap the U-joint back to get the other end cap pushed back into the yoke a little bit, and then using a smaller socket push on the U-joint itself and push that other end cap out into that larger socket. Then just use the pair of channel locks to twist that final end cap all the way out of the yoke. One thing to watch out for is that none of the needles fell down in the end cap while removing or installing these U-joints. So right here, a couple of them did, and I'm just using a pick to push them back into place. Before reinstalling the end caps, I like to put a little bit of extra grease because I just don't think they come with enough in them for the most part. And because I'm reusing these end caps and U-joints, I put the end caps back on the U-joint before installing them in the yoke to make sure that they twisted on there nice and smooth to verify that I didn't damage them while trying to remove them. As far as putting them back together, all you have to do is place the U-joint in the yoke, and then I like to push the U-joint out past the yoke to make sure that I can get the end cap started correctly. Then use the vise to squeeze that one end cap back into place. Once again, if it's not going smoothly, you can tap the yoke with a hammer to help get it in place. Once getting the one completely in, then I push the U-joint out to the other side to make sure I get that end cap in correctly, and then slowly tighten it down, making sure that you can move that U-joint back and forth to make sure it's not binding and possibly pushing one of those needles out of place. Then all I did was put the Allen heads back in place and tighten those down. Now if there are snap rings holding these end caps, you might have to use the socket to push those end caps past the surface of the yoke so you can put the snap ring into place. Then make sure you pivot that U-joint around to make sure there's no binding and everything feels smooth. So the other sand car that I had bought had also come with this slip drive shaft, and it had the same spline count on one of the yokes as the electric power steering unit. However, it did not match the rack and pinion that was on my sand car, so I cut off the one end of this drive shaft so I could weld on a different yoke that matched the spline of my rack and pinion. Then I had another drive shaft that did have the spline count that was correct, so I cut that yoke off as well. I ground a nice taper on the slip drive shaft and on the yoke that I had cut off. Then I ground a taper on both of those items so I could get good penetration when I welded them back together. I also ground both ends down to make sure they were as flat as possible so I did not get off when I welded them back together. I put the drive shaft in my vise vertically and set the yoke on top of it. Then tack welded the yoke to the drive shaft, looked at it, made sure I was as centered as possible, and tack welded the other side. Once I was happy with how centered the yoke was on that slip drive shaft, I flipped the drive shaft horizontally so I could get a better weld on the rest of that drive shaft. So the safer way to go would be to remove the U-joints out of a yoke before welding it. However, these were not removable on this part of the yoke. So I would do a little bit of welding on it, and then I would cool it down and then weld a little bit and cool it down again, so I did not damage the U-joints. Once finishing welding that, I attached the drive shaft to my rack and pinion and put the retaining bolt in the drive shaft. Then using a pair of vice grips, I held that slip yoke out a little bit. Then put the power steering unit on the other side of that drive shaft and held it in place with some straps and bungees. Then sat in the car and made sure that that unit would not interfere with me using the brake or the throttle pedal. One of the other yokes I ended up having fit directly over the steering shaft where the steering wheel would attach in the normal application. So that kept me nice and centered. And I tack welded that yoke to that steering shaft, and once again used a cool rag to keep it cool. I twisted it every once in a while to make sure that the bearings weren't getting too hot in the steering shaft and that the U-joints weren't getting too hot either. Now, because I did not want to weld anything to the original frame of the sand car, I ordered some of these heavy-duty bolt-on clamps that you can weld to. And I have no worries about the strength of these clamps. I've used these to mount a receiver hitch and a spare tire on my RZR. And they come in various sizes depending on the size of your frame or roll cage. Once I was happy with where the electric power steering unit was with those straps and the bungees, I put those clamps on the frame rail, measured side to side to make sure they were even on the frame above the power steering unit, and bolted those on. Then I cut a 3/4 inch piece of pipe to fit between those two clamps. There might have been a more technical way to make these cuts. All I did was go a little long and then cut off a little bit at a time to make sure I had a tight fit. And I basically made every cut for this project that exact same way. So I would cut where it was close to fitting and then mark off what material I needed to trim down or grind off to make it fit. So it did take me a couple times for each one of these cuts. Once I had that bar where it was a nice tight fit, I put some welding blankets down to protect my sandrail and went ahead and tacked those in place. Right here I'm just using a small piece of angle iron to make a bracket that's going to attach to the steering column part of this electric power steering unit. Once getting that cut out and ground down to size, I bolted it onto the electric power steering column. Then using a couple more small pieces of 3/4 inch pipe, I attached that bracket to the 3/4 inch piece pipe that I had going across the top of the frame. And once again, I cut it a little long and then ground and cut off a little bit at a time to make sure I had a nice tight fit on that cut. Before tacking it in place, I did get in the car one more time and check to make sure that I had plenty of clearance for my feet. Once getting that tacked in place, I checked it one more time in the car and made sure my clearances remained the same for my feet, and then I went ahead and went through that same process for the bracket for the other side. So because of the way I had to angle that power steering unit to make my feet fit and make the bracketry work, I did have to remount the control module for that electric power steering unit off to the side instead of underneath where it was originally. So right here I'm just tack welding that bracket that held that module off to the side of the unit. There was one final bracket that I had to make, and that was to attach the actual motor of the power steering unit to that bracket as well. I used a piece of flat steel to make a U basically, and then I drilled a hole through that and attached that bracket to my main 3/4 inch piece of pipe using another piece of pipe. So while I'm making this final bracket, I wanted to explain why I wanted to use all of the factory bracketry, because I could have removed the steering column portion of this power steering unit and then just welded a bracket directly from that tube coming out of the electric power steering up to my bracket. If I would have done that though, there would be no isolators to help with vibration on this unit. And by using all of the factory mounting locations, I'm hoping it's going to help with longevity and reliability. So once getting everything anchored and tack welded in position, I went ahead and jumped the power steering unit to see how it did. So I just ran a main positive and main negative and then used a little alligator clip and put another positive to it for right now to test it. And everything was working good. I was a little worried about the angle on the bottom steering U-joint going to the actual rack and pinion, but it doesn't seem to be affecting it very much. So once I verified that it was operating good, there was no binding in any of the linkages, and I was happy with everything, I took it all apart so I could weld it on a bench instead of being in the car where I had to worry about the powder coating or any of the rest of the car getting messed up. Once getting that all welded up and cleaned up, ground down so it looks good, I went ahead and put everything back together. I did end up adding an extra little gusset to help hold that control module so I didn't have to worry about that breaking off. Another thing about these electric power steering units is even if you lose electricity to the unit, you're basically in a manual steer operation. Now I checked it without the electric going to it, and it is a little tougher than what it was with just the manual steering rod in place. But it is still definitely doable, so it's not like if you lose the electric power steering or the motor fails that you're not going to be able to steer. After getting that all bolted in, all that was left to do was wire it in permanently. So right here I drew this little diagram of what you need to do as far as that goes. Once again, you're going to need a main positive and a main negative, and those have to be nice heavy gauge wires because that's what's handling all the amperage and the main load that this thing uses. And besides that, all you need is a key-on exciter, and that's going to go on the 8-pin connector just to the right of the main power and ground, on the top row, all the way to the left next to the red main power cable. So one thing that did end up being a little tricky was finding the pigtail end that plugs into the module that has the key-on exciter. And what I ended up doing, because I already had the whole steering column, is I just went on eBay and bought a completely separate module. I paid $40 for it. I had actually gone to Kia and gave them a part number off this module and tried to get a pigtail from them. They had 3 entire toolboxes full of pigtail ends and we could not find it. So if you are searching for a complete steering column, make sure you try and find one that they have just cut the wiring harnesses and not disconnected them, and that way you have it and you don't have to go through the BS that I did trying to find it. This is actually the spare module that I bought off of eBay. The only reason it's missing that pigtail is because it's already on the car. You can see that all 3 of the other harnesses that were going to this module were cut. So as I already told you, I ended up remounting that module to give me some more foot clearance. When I did that, I removed this little extension harness and that welded bracket to the electric motor as well. I cut the female end off of this little extension harness and attached my wires right to that. So what I ended up using was some 6-gauge Romex cable that was actually for house wiring. However, wire this thick can be expensive, and I had this Romex which was already nice and insulated to protect it, so that's what I ended up using. I butt connected these together using a vise It's always worked well for me, and I've done several connections this way, and I put heat shrink around each one of those connections. I had peeled back a couple inches of the Romex insulation, so after putting the heat shrink on, I could put that insulation back over the connections as well, and then I wrapped it up with some electrical tape. I hooked that end up to the module and then ran that Romex cable through my chassis towards the battery. So there was no real good place to run the main power on this car with the way the electrical wiring was done. So what I ended up doing was spending another several hours cleaning up the electrical on this car, and I ended up adding a battery shutoff, which I feel is a good idea to have on anything that has a battery in it, for that matter, for safety reasons, because if you ever start getting an electrical burnt smell from a positive cable shorting out to ground, you can just shut that battery switch off and that will eliminate that, hopefully before it causes any damage or possibly catches on fire. One of my other concerns with adding this electric power steering to this car was whether the charging system was going to be able to keep up with this unit. So right here I've got an amp clamp on the main power cable going to that steering unit, and I've got my voltmeter testing the battery. And I'm doing this with the engine not running, so basically it's not being charged, and I wanted to see how much the voltage would drop after several steering attempts and how many amps it was drawing on that cable. The battery maintained really well. The amps did spike to 14 one time, but for the most part it was right around 6 or 7 on the average, so that was pretty impressive. I did put a 30 amp breaker on to account for those spikes in the amperage. I did not want to do an inline fuse because if it did spike for some reason and blow it, then I'm without power steering, whereas the circuit breaker will reset and I will be able to keep going. This is the exciter that I ran to the orange wire on that pigtail that I got off that extra module. I went ahead and heat shrank the other ends of that wire connector, then put some wire loom over the top of that, then put a piece of heat shrink over the wire loom and the rest of those wires, then ran that to the center console of my sand car and tapped into the key on power off of the ignition, which was already protected from another fuse in that system. Then all that was left to do was hook the negative back up on the battery and give it a try. There is one other thing. The electric motor on this power steering unit was exposed and there was a bearing right there. So I definitely didn't want any sand or water getting in there. So I put a rubber cap over that and I glued that in place. Now I ended up having that rubber cap just laying around in my miscellaneous supplies in the garage, but I believe that is a protector for your floor for like a folding table, and I believe you can get them at Ace or Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that. So right here I've got my main battery switch off with the key out of the ignition, and you can see you can still steer it, but it is still difficult. Then I'm going to turn the battery switch on and put the key in the on position, and you can see the difference. Another thing that I realized during this process is even after you shut the key off, you still do have electric power steering for maybe 15 to 30 seconds. And I'm sure that was put in there for a safety reason, so if you did lose battery power, you still have power steering for that 15 to 30 seconds to get you over to a safe place on a standard on-the-road vehicle. I plan on running it this season at the dunes to make sure everything goes good, and then I will take it off at the end of the season and get it powder coated to match the rest of the car. I will post an update video, guys, to let you guys know after this season how this unit held up and whether I had any problems with it. I'm also in process of building a wing trunk for this car as well, so I have some tool storage because that's the other thing I'm lacking. And I'll have a video coming up shortly for that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and it gave you some good information. If so, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. My channel is loaded with a wide variety of DIYs, everything from fabrication to mechanical to electrical, plumbing, woodworking, DIY house projects, etc. All with the same concept, give you guys the most information in the least amount of time as possible so I don't waste your time. And I hope to see you next time. Have a good one. Later.